welcome to Vanished Voices. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Shannon. Real quick, if you've been listening to the show and it's meant something to you, leave us a rating and/or a review. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, wherever you are. YouTube listeners, subscribe and hit the bell. It takes a few seconds and it helps us reach the people who haven't heard these stories yet. Thank you so much. All right, let's go, Jenna.
All right. It's a Thursday evening in April. It's the kind of evening in South Carolina where the air has finally remembered you're supposed to be warm. Someone on Fountain Lake Hill has a grill going. You can smell it before you see it. The subdivision is doing what it does on evenings like this. Porches are occupied, neighbors talking across yards, kids cutting through each other's driveways like they own the whole block. This is the kind of neighborhood where people know each other, and not in that formal way, not like block party committees and HOA meetings, but in a real way. You know who belongs. You know whose kid is whose. You know the tall girl who walks through here like she's going somewhere important. Always dressed right, hair always done. Confident. She's the kind of confident that makes people take notice. Her name is Silene, but everyone calls her Erica. She's 15 years old, and she's walking away from her house on Fountain Lake Road. It's somewhere between 7 and 7:30 in the evening. She said she was going to visit a neighbor around the corner. She's done this 100 times. Wandered the block, stopped to talk, and made her way back before anyone had to worry too much. Across the street, her neighbor Veronica looks up from the grill she's manning. She sees Erica. She knows she's not supposed to be out. So she calls out to her. Hey, stop. Go back inside.
What, was she grounded?
She liked to leave.
Okay.
Without permission.
Oh.
And it had been an ongoing problem.
Okay.
Erica, though, she doesn't stop. She doesn't turn around. She just keeps walking. Veronica watches her go. Then she picks up the phone and calls Erica's mother, Brenda. Brenda comes out of the house quick. She goes after her on foot. But by then, Erica is already gone. She's turned a corner and disappeared into the neighborhood she knew maybe better than anyone. Brenda goes back inside. She says the same prayer she has said so many times before. Please, please let her come home safe. Please let her just be wandering. Please. She had said that prayer before, and it had worked. Erica had always come back. Today, we're telling you the story of Silene Erica Yasmin Eaddy.
So when she said she was going to go visit a neighbor around the corner, who did she say that to?
That is the million-dollar question.
Okay. Because I'm like, wait, if she said that to somebody, you knew where she was going, which I would assume is the mom. If Veronica can pick up the phone and call Brenda to say, hey, Erica's out.
I'm not sure if she yelled it over her shoulder to Veronica or if she had told her mom, but it doesn't sound like she had told her mom.
Okay.
Maybe she told a friend before leaving.
Like, because she was on the phone with her or something?
I can say investigators know who it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Silene, or Erica, as she liked to be called, and we'll call her that through most of the episode, was born in Lexington, South Carolina. Now, from the very beginning, her life asked more of her than it had any right to. She and her siblings entered the world in the foster care system. That's where her story starts. Not with a hometown or a hospital or a family photo on the refrigerator. It starts with uncertainty, with the particular kind of not knowing that follows a child into every room they enter, every house they're placed in, every person who might be permanent and might not be. She was 3 years old when a woman named Brenda McCoy and her husband, Frederick Eaddy, brought her home to the Fountain Lake home in Columbia. They were her foster parents first. 2 years later, they made it official. They adopted Silene, and as her siblings came along, them as well, and gave them their name.
Was she the oldest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She was 5 years old when she was adopted. She now had a mother, a father. She had a home. She was, by every account, a happy child. Brenda would describe her in the years that followed in a way that is so specific, so particular, that it could only come from someone who watched her carefully and loved what they saw. Erica would try to cook for the family. This is my favorite story. She would dress her little brother Eugene up in a suit, like a full suit, and position him at the door to greet people when they came home. She wanted the people she loved to feel welcomed. She wanted to do things for people. She was part of the family's community gospel choir. She sang, she danced, she drew, filling pages with artwork, sketching things out, making something from nothing with whatever writing utensil was in her hands. A volunteer coordinator named Mary, who worked with Erica in a community reading program, remembered sitting with her, reading together, writing, drawing. She said Erica told her she wanted to become an artist someday, or maybe a writer, or a singer. She hadn't narrowed it down yet. She was 15. She didn't have to have it figured out. Out in the neighborhood, she was a known presence. Fountain Lake Road is a subdivision of 2-story homes with porches, the kind of street where you recognize your neighbors by their routines. Erica was part of the rhythm of that place. Like I said, always put together. A neighbor described her as someone who just oozed confidence when she walked down the street. Like you noticed her. She carried herself like she was going somewhere. People were drawn to her. Friends confided in her constantly, brought her their problems, their worries, the things they didn't know how to carry alone. She was the one people came to. Deidre, the mother of one of Erica's friends, said it simply. She had a wonderful spirit about her, but she was just searching for something. And that line, searching for something, will come back because it's the truest thing anyone said about Erica in those final months of her life. Not troubled, not bad. Searching, looking for something she hadn't been able to name yet in places that didn't always know how to keep her safe. When Erica was just 8 years old, her father died. He had a heart attack. There was no warning, no slow goodbye, no time to prepare a little girl for what was about to change. He was just there, and then he wasn't. And Brenda would say years later that Erica never, ever got over it. This sweet 8-year-old girl who had already lost one family before she could even create memories of them had finally found a father who had chosen her, and she had built something real with him and then lost him too. Suddenly,
so, like right after she got adopted by them? Wow.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Isn't that awful? Brenda said it plainly. She said, quote, his death had a devastating effect on Erica. And the older she got, the more that grief took a specific shape. It became a question. It became a search. The search was also that she wanted to find her biological mother. She wanted to know where she came from, who she looked like, why she had ended up in the foster system in the first place, what her story was before that house on Fountain Lake Road. These are not unusual things for an adopted child to wonder. They're some of the most human questions a person can ask. But for Erica, the answers just weren't available. The records weren't accessible. No one could tell her where to look. Brenda tried to help her. She wanted to help her, but she didn't know how. She would say she always wanted to know where they were, and we couldn't find them. We just didn't know where to look. So Erica carried that not knowing on top of her grief over losing Frederick, on top of the ordinary chaos of being 15 and trying to figure out who you are. And Erica was still doing the things that mattered to her. She was enrolled in Draher High School in the fall of 2003, a 9th grader participating in ROTC and dance. She was still showing up, but she was also starting to pull away. She was sneaking out. She would readily accept rides from people, specifically men she didn't know. She was spending time with people that Brenda couldn't account for. Then, in late January 2004, she was expelled from Draher. A friend named Lacey later confirmed the reason. Erica had cursed at another girl.
How do you get expelled for that?
Right?
That's detention.
If that, I
Right.
mean,
Like minimum
If-
detention.
yes, but expelled. One incident, that was it.
That makes no sense.
Nope. And I don't know if there's more to the story, but from everything I read,
I mean, is it
seemed like
was it a
it.
private school? Because I can't see a public school having that strict of guidelines. There's usually
I can't
step
either.
process
Right.
of escalation that you just get, and it's not even, she didn't physically touch the person.
No. And
It's
she
verbal.
wasn't there that long.
Yeah, that's
She's
very
still a ninth
strange.
grader, so she doesn't
Yeah.
have like a record. But she was expelled. On February 25th, 2004, she enrolled at a new school called Alston Wilkes Youth Services School on Woodrow Street in Columbia. And this is an alternative program for at-risk youth. And Brenda worried what it meant that her daughter was there. But here's something the record makes clear. By every account, Erica was doing well at that school. The school's director, a woman named Ann Walker, said that she had been well behaved since the day she enrolled. And she was still in ROTC, still dancing. It seemed like she had settled in.
It's funny. I have a friend whose oldest son had to do alternative high school, and it ended up being better for him too. Like the rigor that was placed on him there, where they weren't allowed to leave their seat. Again, it was a little bit more, I wouldn't say military style, but there was just more rigor. Actually helped him graduate, and he liked it. The accountability it kind of forced him to have. I'm not surprised that it ended up being a good thing for her.
That's really interesting. It seemed, yeah.
So you would think it'd be the opposite if it's already an at-risk youth, and yet it's not.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad they found that for her and for your friend's son.
Yeah.
Knowing that she was doing so well at her new school meant that whatever was pulling at Erica wasn't happening inside those school walls. It was happening after the last bell, in the hours that Brenda couldn't see, in the company of people whose name Brenda didn't always know. Brenda described trying everything she could think of to reach Erica. She tried to set boundaries. She tried talking. Erica would agree, and then she would slip out through the door or through a window the moment Brenda's back was turned. A neighbor had tried too. He told her directly to stop messing with the people she was spending time with. She didn't listen. Brenda said later, Silene was her own person. I think I did everything I could, and I learned what was right for me was not right for her. And I love that statement. There's no blame in it. It's just a mother telling the truth about a daughter who has her own force of nature and maybe this confidence with a little bit of stubbornness that couldn't be contained. She was loved completely and still somehow, at this period in her life, unreachable.
I mean, yeah, she's dealing with clearly the grief of losing her dad. She's adopted. She has no idea why her bio parent, I mean, that's a lot.
It is a
For
lot.
a 15-year-old. And then you have all the other new things you want to do as a 15-year-old because you're like on that cusp of adulthood, but not an adult. And you're like an adult and you swear up and down you are. And I'd still remember like, oh, at 15, I knew everything. And then I turned 18 and I was like, God, I was so dumb at 15. And then at 21, I was like, God, I was so dumb at 18.
Yep.
And it's that whole realization that, oh, you really don't know everything. But man, I swear at 15, I sure you couldn't tell me nothing.
Yep. I think that's so normal.
Yes.
So
completely.
normal. There's something else that Brenda said, something quieter, a little bit harder to sit with. She said in those last months, Erica had been making comments, small things, but comments that suggested she was scared, that she had gotten into a situation with a group of people and didn't know how to get out of it. And she didn't say it directly. She didn't ask for help or give any indication about how serious it was. But she said enough that Brenda knew something wasn't right. And I think in hindsight, putting all of those comments together, this is where Brenda landed.
Is it like a gang or something? Like, do we know?
I'm going to say no, that's not verified. But in a podcast, they mentioned that someone said she was wearing a lot of red and black or only red and black in those last weeks, which was the color of a street gang. I literally cannot find that anywhere.
I mean, they probably wouldn't publish that. And there's a difference between being part of the gang and affiliated and
really liking to wear black. I mean,
yeah. Well, red and black, because I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, Bloods, but
because I can't verify it anywhere,
yeah.
I'm going to say no, that's not verified.
But they just keep saying fallen with the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
She's expressing like I'm in something I can't really get out of. Well, that screams gang to me.
Right. I agree.
And especially at 15, that's who they target.
Right. So Erica was 15 years old. She was scared, and she didn't know how to say so in a way that would get her out. And that's the part that stays with me. Not the running away, not the expelled from school, not even the ride from strangers or sneaking out through windows. Those are things that get flagged and noted and kind of used to explain what happened to her. But the thing underneath all of it, the thing that matters, is that Erica was a girl who was searching her whole life for something solid to hold on to. And somewhere along the way, she found herself in the company of people who were dangerous. She was afraid. She couldn't find the door out. She was still the girl from the gospel choir. She was still the one friends came to with their problems. She was still the kid who had dressed her little brother in a suit and posted him by the front door. She was just also lost. And those two things can be true at the same time. About 2 weeks before April 15th, Brenda tried something new. She'd been talking to her neighbor, Veronica, so that's how Veronica really knew when she saw Erica leaving. She'd been talking to her about the sneaking out, the disappearing, the way that no amount of conversation or consequence seemed to make a difference. Veronica had a suggestion. She said next time Erica takes off, call it in as a runaway, make it official, and let her face the legal side of it. Maybe the weight of that, the reality of what running away actually meant on paper would be enough to scare her into staying home. Brenda wasn't using it as a punishment. She was using it as a strategy. She felt like she had run out of options, and she was trying to find something that might work. So when Brenda dropped Erica off at a shoe store one afternoon, came back to pick her up, and she was gone, just gone. No note, no call, no Erica. She drove to the Columbia Police Station and filed a missing persons report. She made it real. A few hours later, Erica came home on her own. The report was somewhat closed, and whatever Erica made of that, the police report, the formality of it, the message that her mom's trying to send to her, it didn't change what came next.
Well, and she came home on her own, which is, I know what happens majority of the time with runaways, but she came on her own, so it wasn't like there was police intervention.
No.
So I don't know why that they thought that would, it'd be different if the cops picked her up and brought her home, but.
Right.
But you telling me at 15, like I had to file a police report, okay, that's on you.
Right. I guess you're right. It
probably
would have sunk in more
Yeah.
if police had brought her home.
Right.
Yeah. 2 weeks later is the night we started out talking about. The normal Thursday evening, that warm April night, Veronica at the grill, Brenda home. Erica slipped out. Veronica saw her, called out. Erica didn't stop. So Veronica called Brenda, who came out, went after her on foot, moving as fast as she could through the neighborhood, trying to close the distance between them. But Erica was already around a corner, already out of reach. Erica had told someone she was going to visit a neighbor around the corner. Now that neighbor, whoever they were, whatever their relationship to Erica was, has never been publicly identified by investigators. I'm hoping that person's been interviewed, but whether they are considered a person of interest, whether investigators have a reason for keeping that detail close, none of that has been said out loud in public. But we do know that Erica had said she was going somewhere specific. She had a destination in mind. She wasn't just wandering. We also don't know what is true. We don't know whether she never arrived, or she arrived and something happened there, or she arrived and then left and something happened after. Brenda went back inside that evening and said her prayer, the same one she had said before, the one that had always seemed to work, and she waited. Erica didn't come home that night. She didn't come home the next morning. She didn't come home that Friday at all. Brenda didn't want to call police right away. After all, she had 2 weeks ago, and Erica had come home soon after. So instead, she called around to friends and family, asking if anyone had seen her or knew where she was. And no one had. On Saturday morning, April 17th, after 2 days of silence, Brenda called police and filed a second missing persons report. But by the time she made that call, it was already too late and had been too late for hours. And what I keep thinking about in the stretch of the story is just how ordinary it all looked from the outside.
Right.
So ordinary. It's nothing visible, nothing loud. It just looked like another Thursday night. Just after 5 a.m. or 5:30, depending on which newspaper article you go with, in the morning on Saturday, April 17th, 2004, the Columbia Richland Fire Department received a call about a brush fire. The location was the intersection of Pincushion Road and Montgomery Lane in Lower Richland County, just off Highway 378 and only about 5 miles away from the street Erica lived on. 5 miles isn't far on a map, but the world between these 2 points is a different kind of place entirely. Investigators would later say that unless you knew these roads, you wouldn't know they even existed. Pincushion Road runs without shoulders. It's just pavement and then trees, immediately on both sides. This road is mainly used for logging. Railroad tracks run parallel to one edge. There are no houses that you can see from the road, no lights, no reason to be there around 5 in the morning, unless someone had put you there. It's the kind of place you go when you don't want to be found. Firefighter David Crosland and his crew arrived and began working the fire. It was a brush fire about 40 feet in diameter. They quickly contained it. It was manageable. It's the kind of call that gets handled quickly and closed. They moved through the smoke and the dark and the burning brush, doing what they've been trained to do. And then David found her, a teenage girl lying face down in the brush, her left arm outstretched, maybe like she'd been trying to climb away. She had been severely beaten, and her body had been set on fire. Crosland and his crew stopped what they were doing. They dropped the hose. They called the sheriff's department. And he would later say, no matter how many times you see that, you are never used to it. It is not a good discovery. The Richland County medical examiner arrived, and the autopsy that followed would reveal details that have stayed with this case ever since. Soot was found in Erica's lungs. That means she was still breathing when the fire was set. She was alive. Whatever had been done to her before that moment, the beating, the violence that investigators described as savage, had not yet killed her. And so whoever did this made a choice. They made a deliberate, conscious choice to set her on fire while she was still alive. Investigators believe the fire was set to destroy evidence, to erase the physical record of whatever had been done to her and by whom, and to make sure that whatever was on her body, whatever could connect her to her killer, would be gone before anyone found her. And they almost succeeded. But the fire didn't take everything. Investigators noted in the days that followed that while the fire had done significant damage, there were things it had not destroyed, things that they continue to examine. They have not said what those things were, not publicly, but it was enough to keep the investigation moving. They also found tire tracks at the scene. There were threads to pull. Around her neck, still intact, was a necklace with a charm shaped like a shoe or a boot, and Brenda recognized that immediately. Now, when they found Erica, her identity was unknown. She didn't have any identification or anything on her, but the call from Brenda 2 weeks ago, like I said, was kind of closed. They had noted she'd been found, but they still had the identifying features of her in the system, and it didn't necessarily say found, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then she had called again that morning.
Which, I mean, I know that the 2 weeks prior was the first time she'd ever called in a runaway report, but was it normal for her to be gone for like this 2 days?
No.
Like, I didn't think so.
No. I didn't see anywhere a mention of her even being gone overnight.
Right.
So I think if she hadn't have called it in 2 weeks ago, she probably would have called it in Thursday night.
Yeah.
But was feeling like, oh, she came home right after. I
Yeah.
don't want to.
Right. I get the delay in waiting and
Yeah.
contacting friends and family first, but
Right. Brenda was called to the medical examiner's office to identify Erica. And later that same day, they also used dental records. And it confirmed what that necklace had already told her family. Investigators released her photograph publicly on Tuesday, April 20th, asking the community if anyone had seen her, trying to account for the 34 hours between Thursday evening and Saturday morning. Because when you sit and think about that, she was still alive when the fire was set, and it was called in not that long after it had started. So she was still
so
doing things,
the
moving.
person who called it in, did they see anybody leaving the area?
Not that they said. But investigators have said they think there's a real possibility that someone saw a car there.
Yeah.
Because the headlights would stand out. It's so dark.
Yeah.
No lights in that area that
it's going to catch your attention and you're going to wonder what's going on. And then a fire to start? Like, come on.
Right. And so they're saying, if you saw headlights there at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and you just thought, oh, that's weird, please call us.
Right.
So investigators asked that because that time period is still dark between when they know she left and Saturday morning. They wanted to find anyone who had been with her, seen her, spoken to her, given her a ride. The Richland County Sheriff, Leon Lott, spoke publicly in the days that followed. He said something that I want to point out, and not because it tells us anything about what happened to Erica, but because of what it says about how her death was being processed by the people in power around it. He said, quote, "After the investigation is over, if we spot anything in her life that we can use to teach other young people that will help them make good decisions, we will use this as something positive out of her death." And I think I understand what he meant. I think he meant it with genuine feeling. But I also want to note gently that 3 weeks after Erica's murder, we are not looking to use her death as a teaching moment. And a woman named Angela Oliver wrote a letter to the editor of the state newspaper, which is where I got a lot of the reporting for this case, pushing back on exactly that framing. In May 2004, she wrote a letter to the paper and they published it. She wasn't a detective. She wasn't a family member. She was just a woman in the city who had been reading the coverage and felt deeply that something was wrong with how it was being told. Shannon, do you want to read what she wrote?
Silene team deserved benefit of doubt. I was really saddened by the fact that the state could find nothing meaningful to say about a youngster who was brutally murdered. If we were all judged by the first 15 or 21 years of our lives, I'll bet we would not look so good either. Silene Eaddy was a child who, from all accounts, had a troubled start in life, but who is to say what she could or could not have accomplished if her life had not been taken from her? The state should focus more on trying to help locate the murderers of this child and less on how she lived. Angela Oliver, Columbia.
I almost didn't clip that when I found it because it was small. It said it was an opinion piece. But the more I thought about it,
I liked it.
I kept coming back to it.
She has a very valid point.
Right.
Yes, I understand you need to frame up her current state to help maybe solve the case and who she was around. But at the same time, I agree. Teenagers do stuff because they're teenagers.
Right. But you don't have
the
that
frontal lobe has not fully developed. So it's should we really hold that against her? No. And does any of that equate to that's why you got murdered? Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. Never. The paper focused so much on the running away, the school expulsion, the wrong crowd, and not that she was so talented and artistic and a singer and all of those amazing qualities that she had. It was very one-sided. And she's absolutely right. Erica is not a cautionary tale. She's a 15-year-old girl who was beaten brutally and set on fire on a dark road 5 miles from home. That is the story. That is what demands our attention, not the sneaking out, not the wrong crowd. The school expulsion has nothing to do with it. The fact that someone did this to her and has never been held accountable and is still out there, that is the story. Now, in the days after Erica's body was found, Richland County Sheriff's Department investigators did move quickly. They released her photograph. They went door to door. They visited churches. They set up driver's license checkpoints on the road in and around lower Richland County, stopping cars, asking questions, trying to find anyone who had seen her, driven her, or spoken to her in those 34 missing hours. Sheriff's spokesman named Joseph Leachy stood in front of cameras and asked the community directly, who was she with during this time period? Who saw her? Where was she? We need help piecing this timeline together. The community, though, by and large, did not answer. And not because no one knew anything. Investigators were clear about that from really early on. Sheriff Lott said it plainly in the summer of 2005. He believed there were people in lower Richland community who had knowledge of Erica's death and had not come forward. Not couldn't, hadn't. There's a difference. He knew it, and he said so out loud. People knew things. People were afraid to say them. And that fear, whatever it was rooted in, whoever it was protected, has held for over 22 years. By late spring of 2005, about a year after the murder, the case was officially transferred to the Richland County Sheriff's Department Cold Case Unit. Lieutenant Stan Smith and investigator Eric Barnes took the reins. Smith noted something that felt at the time like cautious optimism. Time had loosened up some of the fears. People who hadn't been willing to talk in those first few weeks were starting to come forward little by little. New information was emerging that hadn't surfaced before. He said, this thing is still solvable. We need bits of information that's going to push it over the top. So that was in 2005. The information never came, or it came in pieces too small or too incomplete to build on. The case file grew. The years passed. The fear in the community, whatever had loosened briefly, seemed to have tightened again. In August of that same year, he made another formal public appeal, specifically naming the lower Richland community. Not the city, not the county broadly, but that specific stretch of roads and neighborhoods where people knew those back roads, where people knew who traveled them and when. He said, we believe there are people in this community that have yet to come forward and share what they know about her death. But still, the wall held. Here's what investigators have confirmed across 2 decades of public statements. They believe that Erica knew her killer or killers, and Brenda agreed with this from the beginning. It's remained a consistent position of everyone who has ever worked this case. They do not believe it was a stranger or that it was random. Erica was not in the wrong place at the wrong time in the way that phrase usually implies. She was with someone she knew or thought she knew and had been around enough to trust at least part way. And that person or those people made the decision. They believed the fire was set very deliberately to destroy evidence. The beating alone, as savage as it was, did not kill her before the fire was lit. That was another choice. They say it was an attempt to erase her, to erase everything that would connect them to what happened to her. They talk about the tire tracks found at the scene and the location itself, this isolated stretch of Pincushion Road. Just the fact that it is not a place you stumble onto, you have to know that it exists, and you have to have a reason to go there. Investigators said as much. Unless you were from the area, you wouldn't know those roads were there. And then the detail that has haunted this case from the very first week. The neighbor, Erica, had said she was going to visit that Thursday evening. That person, who has never publicly been named, not in 2004, not ever. Investigators say they do know who it is. They've known since the beginning. And the decision not to name that person has been consistent and deliberate.
I want to know what the streets are saying, though.
I want to know that too. But they're not saying anything out loud, it seems like, quietly. But
it makes me wonder if there's more than one person involved.
Me too. I also wonder if it was something where she knew something she wasn't supposed to.
I mean, we'll allude to the gang affiliation again. What do you do to get into a gang? You get beat in. So jumped in. I mean, maybe it went too far, but that seems a little bit, I don't even know if I really buy that now, but after I say that, because why? That's like a wanted thing, and then everybody goes home and everything's fine. Like, why would you set her on fire? But yeah, maybe she witnessed something that they didn't feel like something. Well, and they didn't feel that they could trust her with it. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. That's one thing that really
that makes me think that there was, yes, witnesses present.
Yes.
And everyone's scared of this person.
And she's not alone for those 34 hours. And to this day, Friday is still blank. They don't know where she was or who she was with on that Friday, on the 16th. The one thing that really lacks in this case is theories. They haven't put out any theories, and I haven't read any from any of the reporting either. The theories are very lacking. In 2008, South Carolina launched a cold case playing card program. Decks of 52 cards, each one featuring an unsolved case. Mainly homicides. There were a handful of missing persons and one surviving victim. The cards were sold at prison commissaries across the state's 28 facilities for $1.66 a pack. And the idea was simple, and most states have these same type of decks. Inmates talk, and inmates play cards. Put the two together, and maybe someone somewhere remembers something or knows something. Maybe someone is finally far enough removed from whatever they were afraid of to say it out loud. In this deck, Erica became the Three of Diamonds, and as far as I know, to this day, she is still the Three of Diamonds. You want to know what's weird, though? They have her picture of her card.
Yeah, I saw it on the internet.
They say age 20 on it.
Maybe that's... Oh, that wouldn't even be her age now.
No. It wouldn't have been her age then.
Oh, yeah, it said 20-year-old Black female.
Right. So when I first started looking into it, I thought she was 20, but all of the dates line up. Like she was 15. So I'm trying to figure out why that said 20.
Yeah, because she was 15 in 04.
But she never got to 20. So like even if 4 years later...
Yeah, no, you would still say she was 15.
Right. That's how old she was.
Because she's not missing where you would do an age progression.
Right. At this point, she's... And like this description of it from the news articles about it in 2008 say that her card showed her photograph, which was her school photo, along with her name, her age, and a single line. The victim was beaten and set on fire on 4/17/2004 in Columbia. And the toll-free Crime Stoppers number was printed at the bottom. So I don't know if there's something I'm missing about why they put 20 on there.
Oh, yeah, no, that would... Well, no, it would be even more talked about if she was a child. Again, if it's gang-related, the gangs run in prisons too, so they're not necessarily going to... I mean, because the whole premise there is that you're going to talk to get a reduction on your sentence. Depending on who... I have a feeling that whoever did this to her is probably very high up in his organization.
To keep it that quiet for that long. Yeah.
Especially
when multiple people know about it.
Right.
Yeah. Sheriff Lott stood at the press conference that announced her playing card. He had a big image of it. He had images of a lot of the cards that they had made. And he said, these cards don't represent anything about fun. These cards represent pain and suffering. At that news conference, there were about 30 family members of different victims that were featured on the cards. They all sat in a room and they watched their loved ones get shuffled into a deck, handed to inmates, and they hoped. They hoped that somewhere in those 24,000 cells, someone would pick up their loved one's card, maybe give the tip needed to solve the individual case. For the Three of Diamonds, though, no substantial leads came from the program. The years kept moving. In 2015, investigators said they were very close to solving the case. They needed one more piece of evidence. They needed one more person willing to testify.
So one more.
One more.
That means they have people willing to testify already.
Or they did 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody else came forward. By 2017, 4 cold case investigators were assigned to Erica's case. The lead investigator gave what remains one of the most detailed public accounts of where the investigation stood. He confirmed the tire tracks. He confirmed that investigators believed that Erica knew her killer. He said, quote, "She evidently was hanging out with the wrong people, which we found out to be many," end quote. So many, not one person, many. It really does tie back to that some sort of organized.
Right.
Yeah. He also at that conference described what it meant that soot was found in her lungs. He said the fire was set to cover evidence. And then he said something about Brenda that I've not been able to stop thinking about. He said, her adopted mother will never have closure. You can never completely get it out of your mind. And I don't think he meant it as defeat. I think he meant it as honesty, an acknowledgement of what this kind of loss does to a person, regardless of whether the case is ever solved. But it lands hard. It lands like a man who has spent years on this case and knows how hard this was on Brenda. In February of 2025, investigator Dottie Cronice, who has carried this case into the most recent chapter, gave a renewed public appeal. And I want to tell you about Dottie for a second. She is still currently the lead on this case. She's 71 or 72.
Oh, wow.
She's been working as a detective since the 70s in the same area.
Oh, wow.
And has taken on as many cold cases
Yeah.
as she can. She's so dedicated. And I really liked listening to her speak about this case.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. You just feel like she actually
cares.
really cares.
Yeah.
Yeah. She confirmed that nearly 100 tips have been received over the years. So think about that. Nearly 100 people had picked up the phone or sent a message or walked into the police department and said something. And not one of those tips had connected to the physical evidence in a way that could get the case over the finish line. She said, and again, this is in 2025, she said, we've got a period of hours there on Friday that are still unaccounted for.
Which that means they have those other hours accounted for. So again, very telling without what they're saying. Yeah.
Right. Those tips helped fill in some of it, but we're still missing Friday. So Friday, April.
Well, it says handful of hours. That's like not many. That's just a few.
And I wonder how.
I think it's being said, I think they actually know. They just need the evidence fully to and that probably means somebody corroborating someone else's statement. So then they have two people that can something like that, where they know this and they just need this one little piece to be able to actually finally formally charge somebody. No, I think they know. And I think the reason they have never said the person's name is because they would probably leave.
Mm-hmm. That I think is spot on. Cronice said she regularly goes back to the crime scene photographs. She looks at them again and again, looking for something she might have missed. Something that's there that can give her some other piece that she needs. I want to tell you a little bit about Brenda, not just as Erica's mother, though she says that is the most important thing she was, but as a person in her own right, because the story of what happened to Erica cannot really be told without also telling the story of what happened to Brenda, what it costs a person to love someone so fiercely and lose them so violently, and then spend years waiting for an answer that never comes. Brenda and her husband took in children who needed a home. And she says when she did, she didn't know yet that they would become hers permanently. She just knew they needed somewhere to be. And she had somewhere to offer. When the adoption was finalized, Erica was 5, and Brenda chose her. She actively chose her. Brenda declined to be interviewed in the immediate aftermath of the murder. Neighbors, friends, school officials, they spoke with reporters in those final days. Brenda wasn't ready. She was trying to plan a funeral, trying to figure out how to tell her other children what had happened. She was also in the process of adopting another one of Erica's siblings. She was doing what mothers do in the wreckage of impossible things, trying to hold everything together with her hands while the floor kept moving underneath her. Erica's funeral was held on a Friday morning. Erica was buried, or rather cremated, with her family around her. Her ashes were placed in an ornate black and gold urn. And Brenda brought that urn home, but she says she didn't know what to do with it. She was uncomfortable at first with having her daughter's ashes in the house. Said the weight of it, just the reality that this is all that was left, was more than she knew what to do with. She thought about putting the urn away somewhere, out of sight, somewhere she didn't look at it every day. And it was Eugene who changed her mind. Eugene was 11 at the time, and he was extremely close to Erica. After she died, he moved into her old bedroom, and he asked Brenda to have it repainted a lavender. He said it was soothing with blue hues for him. He was trying to stay close to Erica in the only way available to him. And he was the one who picked out the urn. He chose it himself. He asked his mother to please keep it in the china cabinet. And he told her, "Mama, you can talk to her." And so Brenda did. She kept it in the china cabinet in the front room where she could see it daily. And she talked to Erica. She told her what she wished her life would have been. She told her the things she hadn't had the chance to say when she was alive. She kept the conversation going the only way she still could. Brenda had planned to bury Erica's ashes at the foot of Frederick's grave when Erica turned 18. She wanted to wait until then. She said she didn't want to send her daughter out into the world until she would have been old enough to go. And I'm not sure if she ever did go through with that. A year after the murder, Brenda gave a long-form newspaper interview. That was May 2005. A reporter from the state, whose name was Lauren, sat with her and asked her to talk about Erica, about who she was, about what had happened, about how Brenda was surviving it. She did talk about the sneaking out, about trying to ground her, trying to scare her, trying every approach she could think of. And that was where her quote came from when she said, "What was right for me was not right for her." There's no self-pity in that statement, no bitterness, just a mother telling the truth about a daughter who didn't want to be contained, and the helplessness of loving someone you cannot protect, no matter how hard you try. She said she knew Erica had fallen in with the wrong people. She said she knew in her heart that something wasn't right. She said Erica had said things, dropped hints, maybe about being in over her head, but hadn't said enough to make the danger legible until it was too late. Brenda said, quote, "Whatever she was looking for, she could not find." That line, it's a mother's grief distilled into 9 words. Her daughter spent her whole short life reaching for something: identity, belonging, answers, safety, and never quite got her hands on it. And Brenda watched that. She watched it and she couldn't stop it. All she could do was love her through it fiercely. By 2017, so 13 years later, Brenda was 65 years old. 4 investigators were now assigned to Erica's case, still open. Brenda spoke again. She said, "It's never going to be easier because I don't know what happened. Now, if I find out what happened, then I can kind of rest my mind." And that quote, she's not asking for justice. She wasn't talking about trials and sentences and accountability. She was asking for something simple and fundamental. She just wanted to know. She wanted the not knowing to end. I can't imagine living inside that particular torture for year after year after year. The absence of an answer, the unexplained death, the knowledge that someone out there knew what happened and had chosen every single day not to say so. She said, the only thing I can do is wait and hope the police find something or catch who did it. I may be dead and gone when that happens, and it may not happen. And she said that in 2017, and unfortunately, she was right.
Oh, man.
I know. Brenda passed away on April 30th, 2020, in her late 60s. She'd spent 16 years waiting. She'd done everything she could to try to get answers, and unfortunately, she passed without knowing. I don't know how to move past that quickly, and I'm not going to try. All we can say is she chose her daughter completely for her entire life, and her daughter was taken from her. The people who did it never had to answer for it, and Brenda passed away still waiting. It's not a footnote. It's not background context. It's just one of the central injustices in this story, and honestly, so many others, and it deserves to be named as such. Erica deserved justice. Brenda deserved answers. And Erica has never got justice. Brenda didn't get it. And someone out there, someone knows why.
So is there someone still taking up the torch for Erica?
It seems like her sister
Okay.
is. And they actually sat down and gave an interview in July of 2025, which
Okay.
was the first time in quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they have taken it up. Right now, as we're recording, it is June 2026. Silene, Erica, Eaddy has been gone for 22 years. In that time, South Carolina has cycled through sheriffs and investigators, cold case units, public appeals. Investigators have said they were close. They've said it a few times. They've said they just needed one more thing. They've also said the community knows something. And still, not one person of interest named publicly, not one answer given to the people who loved her. So like we just mentioned, in July of 2025, Erica's family did speak publicly for the first time in years. Erica's sister Candace said there are many things she can't fully remember about her sister anymore. You know, time does that. 22 years does that. The specific details blur and soften, and sometimes disappear entirely, no matter how hard you hold on to them. But she remembers the relationship, and she remembers what was taken from her. She said that her son will never get to meet his aunt. That line hurts because Erica would be in her late 30s now. She may have become someone's colleague. She'd be someone's neighbor, maybe someone's mother. She would have figured out by now whether she was going to be an artist or a writer or a singer. Maybe all three, maybe none of them. She would have been an aunt. She probably would have been the kind of aunt who showed up with something thoughtful, who remembered the things other people forgot, who made her nephew feel seen in that particular way she had of making people feel seen. Because the girl that friends come to with their problems doesn't stop being that person when she grows up. She just gets better at it. And Candace's son will never get to know that. He will know because someone will eventually tell him that she was taken, that someone did this, and that no one has ever been made to answer for it. I think that's the legacy of an unsolved murder. It doesn't just take the person, it takes every version of them that was still coming. Every relationship that hadn't formed yet, every ordinary Tuesday they were supposed to have. And the letter we read from Miss Oliver was written in 2004. And I'm sitting here in 2026 telling you that we are still having to say the same thing. We are still having to argue that a 15-year-old girl's choices do not determine whether her murder deserves to be solved.
Well, nor does it deserve for her to be murdered.
Exactly. We just have to keep insisting that being expelled from school, or running away from home does not make you less worthy of justice. And like Shannon said, does not mean that this should have happened to her. Erica was not a cautionary tale. She was a child who had survived more loss than most adults ever face. She was trying to find her footing in a world that kept shifting underneath her. If you have any information about the murder of Silene Yasmin Erica Eaddy, please contact the Richland County Sheriff's Department Cold Case Unit at 803-576-3000. You can also reach South Carolina Crime Stoppers at 1-888-CRIME-SC, which is 1-888-274-6372. We'll post those in the show notes. Tips can be made anonymously, and a cash reward is available for information that leads to an arrest. Someone out there knows what happened in those 34 hours. Someone knows whose tire tracks were left on that road. Someone knows whose name investigators have been either looking for or not releasing for 22 years. Maybe that someone is you. Maybe you've been sitting on something that you felt was too small or too complicated to say out loud. But investigators are still listening. They are still begging for any tip. Case is still open, and it's still possible for this to end differently than it has so far. Erica was artistic, talented, kind, and so much more. She was last seen walking down Fountain Lake Road on the evening of April 15th, 2004. And she should have been allowed to keep walking through the neighborhood, through that year, through every year after. She should have been allowed to figure out who she was, to grow up and become someone's aunt, and keep singing, drawing, find whatever it was she was looking for.
22 years is long enough.
22 years is long enough. If you know something, please say it for Erica and for everyone who misses and loves Erica deeply.
We're grateful you spent time with us today on Vanished Voices. These stories matter, and your support helps ensure that they are not forgotten. To see our full list of episode sources and extended materials, visit the blog linked on our site, vanishedvoicespodcast.com. Follow us across socials, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Vanished Voices Pod. Your messages and feedback help shape the conversations we continue to have. If you'd like to support the show, please take a moment to rate, review, subscribe, and share. We're streaming wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, refuse to let these voices vanish.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.